Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. I have got the lovely Emma Hine on today, who is going to be talking about her story of how she built amazing success with her business, but it wasn't quite aligned with the freedom that she wanted in her life. And now she's kind of pivoted. She's launched an incredible podcast. She's an author. So Emma, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super, super excited for this conversation. This is my first, I think, podcast guest episode that I've recorded since I've hosted my own podcast. So, yeah,
Amazing.
I'm excited.
Oh, I love that. Well, first of all, could you just start us with kind of your background, your journey, how you even got started with running your own business in the first place?
Absolutely. Okay, I'll try and do this quickly because we could literally talk all day, couldn't we, about our own journeys. So my journey started, I was in corporate. I was enjoying the job that I was doing. It wasn't that I was unhappy doing that, but it wasn't giving me everything that I wanted from a personal perspective. Things like being able to pick the children up from school, even if it was occasionally, being able to choose when I went on holiday, being able to decide what I did each day. So as much as I was enjoying it, it wasn't quite giving me everything that I wanted. And I think everybody says, set up your own business. You can do exactly what you want then. That's exactly how running your own business works.
It is,
So I
isn't
did exactly that. It is, isn't it? That's what everybody seems to think. So I thought, well, that's what we will do. I'll set up my own business. And it was back in 2006. So, I'm old school these days. I'm old too, but I'm old school.
it?
So I launched an e-commerce business. I had no experience in e-commerce. I didn't even have experience in retail. It was just something that started from there was a greeting card at the side of the bed, trying to decide what to do. Conversation with my husband. Never see them for sale online. Ta-da! That was the start of my first business. And it took a couple of years to grow the business to a point where I could walk away from my corporate job. But in 2008, I did that, walked away from the corporate job to step into CEO of this business to actually really start doing something with it. At the same time, we'd outgrown the home. So first, I keep saying we, just let me add a bit of clarity. I did this with my husband. So when I say we, I mean me and my husband.
Okay.
Um, we moved the stock and everything out of a home into our first premises and took on our first staff member as well. So all in the space of 1 month. Great recession in 2008. I've walked away from a corporate career. I've taken on a lease on a premises and got my first staff member in business. So it was big steps straight from the beginning.
Yeah.
And from there, the business just grew very, very quickly. It was soon turning over six figures, then multi six figures, then ultimately we went into the seven-figure mark, and it was turning over a lot of money. But, and this is where the big book comes in, what happened along the way is I got so engrossed in the next milestone, making the money, making the business look successful, making the business financially successful, that I forgot my reason for starting the business in the first place, which was freedom. Obviously, I wanted some money because money allows us to have nice experiences and all of that sort of stuff, doesn't it? So money was part
Absolutely.
of it, but it was never my main driver. My main driver was about the freedom. And instead, what I had was a business that meant I was going on some amazing holidays with my laptop. I spent most of my time in a hotel room working, we bought a villa, so I spent most of my time inside whilst everybody else was out having fun. So all of the things that I wanted, I'd sort of externally made it look like I'd created, but internally it was nothing. I had created what I call a monster business. It affected me mentally. I was very depressed. I was very low. I turned to alcohol. I did all of the standard things that you do when you're unhappy. You either eat or you don't eat, one or the other. I
Yeah.
didn't eat, so I lost a lot of weight. I drank a lot of alcohol, so I was just literally fueled with wine. That was what my makeup was. And ultimately, I reached the point of wanting to take my own life because I was so unhappy with what I had got, but I would never let anybody see that. So
Yeah.
what people saw was one side of me, but what went on as soon as I got through my home was a completely different version. And it took me 10 years to get to the point from when I first had those niggling doubts, those things that were saying to me, something isn't quite right here, to actually allowing myself to find I don't know if confidence is the right word or what the right word is, but to actually find it within me to say, I cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
And by that point, I physically couldn't do it anymore. The only option for me was to say, I'm done. I'm closing the doors and I'm just going to physically walk away from this business,
Yeah.
which is what I did. It's what I did. So that was sort of like my first business. Then what happened was it was about me then sort of saying, okay, so what am I going to do with my life now? So we've suddenly walked away from a business that was paying the bills and giving us the lifestyle. This was me and my husband, remember. So suddenly we had nothing, no income coming in or anything. We had to work through what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
I knew that I needed to keep doing something. I knew that I needed to find a way to, to satisfy I like work. I do enjoy working.
That purpose, isn't it? It's finding your purpose.
Exactly that. But I was lost. I had no idea who I was, and I had no idea what I enjoyed. All I kept saying is, I don't want anybody to ever have to feel like I felt. I don't want anybody to ever feel that they've just got to keep going, even if they don't want to, that there isn't an alternative option, that the option shouldn't have to be literally to throw in the towel. There should be something that can stop people getting to that point, or if they get to that point, giving them a way that can help them to change it. Because I think everybody can change things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it took me quite a while to actually understand what that looked like because I was broken. I was, I'm happy to say that now. I wasn't at the time, but I was a completely broken person who didn't think I had any skills, anything that anybody could learn from because I'd done a really bad job of growing that business. Other people didn't see it that way, but
Yeah.
that is how I saw it.
Yeah.
And then I just gradually crept into, coaching, mentoring other people to grow a business they love, which is where my absolute passion sits. That it's helping people to be happier in business, to
Yeah.
realize that business doesn't have to take over your life, that you can actually run a business that gives you the lifestyle too, if you do it right. So that's
Exactly.
sort of my journey.
I love
Yeah,
that. And I think it's so amazing, isn't it? Because you can see from the outside, we see all these amazingly successful people that are talking about how many figures they make or they've had an incredible launch and everything. But what you don't see is what's going on behind the scenes. And so often with these big launches is a lot of stress, big teams, failed launches in the run up to all of that. Like you don't see that side of it. So yes, you can celebrate those wins and success and see that from the outside as being, oh my God, that would be the absolute dream. But what you don't see is the struggles that all of those people have had to actually get to that point. And I think I don't actually know one person that hasn't gone through some form of struggle in their journey to get to the success they've built. And I think this whole thing of overnight success is just crazy, isn't it? Because as part of the journey of building a successful business, you need to go through those struggles and difficult parts of being an entrepreneur. It is a roller coaster, isn't it?
absolutely. And I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now in the way I do it had I not experienced the whether we call it a failure or whatever we want to call
Yeah,
it, if I hadn't have experienced what I'd experienced in my business, I wouldn't be able to support people in the way that I do now because that is lived experience. Yes, I've got the strategy. I've worked in strategy even back to my corporate days. So I've got all of that type of stuff. But the other stuff that sits around it is for me is the superpower that helps me to do things in the way that I do them. It
yeah,
helps me to now have a business that give me what I want because I know what I don't want. And I think that's something sometimes important, isn't it? That we forget. We focus a lot on, as you say, the Instagram stuff. You see these people, don't you, who are doing these amazing things. But I hand on heart say that a lot of those will be doing exactly what I did. They're
yeah,
putting on the mask, they're putting on the lipstick, they're making it all look like it's okay from the outside,
yeah.
whereas inside there'll be stuff going on that they could tweak and change.
Yeah. And it's so funny, isn't it? Because you see those things like Instagram versus reality and what's really going on in the situation. Yeah, I think that's so incredible. And I think it's just really valuable for everybody listening to this that if you're going through that point in your business or in your life where things just feel really hard, that there is always an opposite side to where you're at right now. There's always another version of yourself in the future, like whether you believe in all the woo stuff or not. I honestly think if you've got this true vision of what your life could look like, that dream lifestyle that you have for yourself and for your business, like it is possible, it's all possible, and to know that is actually out there. And sometimes it's just taking small steps, isn't it, into the right direction. So what going back to where you just felt completely trapped and there was no way out and you're just like, I'm gonna have to just step away from this. What would you say to somebody that right now in their business is perhaps feeling that restriction of they're just treading water and things just aren't working, it's not feeling in alignment with where they want to be going? What would be your sort of top tip to give them?
For me, the thing that's worked most for me, and that the first thing that I do with all of my clients when we work together, is we go back to, we can call it our purpose, our why, our dream, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But I think we really need to get proper clarity. And that's not looking at all of the Instagram stuff and thinking that's what I want. It's about really getting honest with yourself. And from personal experience, this can be quite an emotional journey to get to that point, but to actually get real clarity on what it actually is you want your life to look like. Because I think that if you know what you want your life to look like, then you can start to work backwards. Then you can start to say, well, okay, and what do I need to make that happen? And how do I want to work in my business that makes sure that I don't deviate from this path? But I think you've just got to first really be honest with yourself in terms of what does success mean to you? Because your version of success might be completely different to mine. And
Yeah.
that is absolutely okay. And I think the other thing for me, sorry, I know you said the one thing, but I two,
Add it
two,
in, add it
and
in.
I think these two go hand in hand. And I think the other thing is just to be prepared to say, if something isn't giving you what you want, that you have to step away from it and you have to make tweaks and changes to it, because I don't think you have to keep doing the same thing if you're not enjoying it. I do believe that there is a change for everybody. So just be honest with yourself.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying there about enjoying it, I think that has to be such a huge part of when you're running your own business, you have to love what you're doing because if you don't, you're just going to be coming from a completely different mindset, energy, and everything, which that in turn makes that very hard for you to not only attract clients, but to get the results that you want and just to feel lit up each and every day in your business. And that's not to say that even if your business is in alignment, you're not going to go through difficult stages because we all go through there's odd days or things that we have to do in our roles that we don't enjoy as much as others. And if you're not in a position to outsource that, like you're obviously going to have to go through that at some point. But in general, on the whole, to have that fully aligned business that it lights you up, that is doing something that you actually love to do and really does give you that fulfillment that you're actually doing what your sort of sole purpose is. I think a lot of the time when I speak to people that are going through maybe difficult stages in their business, a lot of it is going right the way back to their childhood and what they see from parents and other family members or even friends as to what is possible for them because that's what they've always had. Like I know myself, there's nobody in my business in my family that has had their own business, so I've kind of broken the mold in that sense. But I think a lot of people feel very restricted in that because if their parents didn't achieve it or their parents didn't achieve it, it can feel like that's not even a possibility for you and you're kind of living in a dream world. Like what would you say to somebody that maybe comes from that kind of background that has these big dreams but then they're maybe told that yeah, it's just a dream, you're lliterally living a dream?
It is, and I think that's completely right. And I think most people have got something that has triggered them off. For
Yeah.
me, it wasn't a parent thing. It was my journey started from a teacher telling me that I would never make anything of myself as a teenager, and I set about trying to prove to people that I can be successful. I went about it the wrong way because I thought things, assets, money, that's what makes people look successful. So I'm proving a point to the teacher. So I think for me, if there's things that have gone on in your childhood that are affecting your future, then I suppose you've got to, again, it comes back to understanding what they are and finding a way to, I suppose, to go straight through the middle of that and says, if just because somebody in your family hasn't been a teacher, a doctor, or a nurse before, or a business owner before, or whatever it is you want to do, it doesn't mean you can't. Somebody has to start somewhere, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's the chicken and the egg, isn't it? What comes first? Somebody has to take that leap. And I think the worst thing anybody can do is never try. Because
Yeah.
if you don't ever try, you never know if you can do it. And just because your parents haven't done it doesn't mean you can't do it. Your biggest supporters in business are rarely your closest family. That doesn't mean that they don't love you. It doesn't mean that you don't love them. They just don't get it always.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite normal, isn't it? Family don't always get what you do as a business owner.
Oh,
That's
100%.
why, yeah, that's why I think surrounding yourself with people in the business world that are completely aligned with you and get it is where you will take your I don't know what the word is I'm looking for here, but you're going to take your strength from. You're going to
Yeah.
take it from people in the world rather than your family.
Yeah.
And it's quite a difficult one, isn't it, to actually to step into that, but you've just got to try. If you've
Yeah.
got a dream, you've got to believe that you can do it and then start to do things, as you said a minute or two ago. Teeny little steps is all it takes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's what is that saying? If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And I think it's just taking a step back and really thinking about what that clear vision is. And if it feels hard, like the tiniest little step, which might be you prioritize your own well-being each day. Like that's something that I know when I was going through the whole self-development journey myself, that my well-being, my mindset and everything had to become a priority every single day. And it is now. Like I do not start any work in the day until I've done my normal morning routine. And when that first came about, it felt hard. Like when I was telling myself, right, I need to spend an hour doing this, I was telling myself constantly, I don't have an hour. I can't do that. I don't have that much time. But it's realizing the benefits of actually doing things that are in alignment to you, that are going to help you move forward, that allow you and your business to grow. Like, and I think so many people underestimate the power of actually focusing on our own well-being and our own sort of vision and creating that strategy and all of those different parts that are they're the inside of the business, aren't they? They're the bits that people don't actually see and how important that is to work on.
Yeah. And if we don't look after ourselves, what's ultimately going to happen is we're going to burn out, we're going to stop being able to perform, we're going to become unwell. And then what happens? The business won't continue if you're in bed for 3 weeks with some lurgy because you haven't looked after yourself. So self-care is often considered selfish. And I don't know where that ever came from, but so many people think they haven't got time because other things are more important, other people are more important. Whereas whether this is for things you do in life or whether this is for things you do in business, to me, self-care, keeping yourself, healthy, strong, your mindset in the right place is absolutely critical and should be as important in your business as is making the sale.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on to a different topic. So you are an author.
I am.
You're an author. That's pretty exciting. Is that something you've always wanted to do, or was it kind of a no?
No, that was one of my I'm quite known for my crazy, I'm just going to do this thing type moments, and that was one of them. And the writing the book was, I think, part of my own personal healing journey in a way. It was me being able to publicly say, this is what I've been through, this is who I am, and this is how I've made myself better.
Yeah,
And that's what the book is really about. It takes you through my journey, it tells you, and then it tells you the steps I took to turn my life around so it can help other people. And I think I wanted to shout it from the rooftops, and I thought, what's the best way to do that? I know, put it in a book, and then it's on Amazon for every man and his dog to buy and to read and to see. So no, it literally came to me. You spoke a little bit about being woo and all of that type of stuff. I never considered myself that way, but something said to me, you need to write a book. You need to get all of this stuff down and write a book and get it out there. And that's what I did. And it's nearly 2 years ago. And it's crazy that, that was sort of the start of my journey. I sort of put my book out there before I'd really established my business, this second business, because it was all based on past experience rather than future
yeah,
experience type thing. But yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I think it's just something that helps to cement you as somebody as well in terms of your skills and your knowledge and everything else, because it's something that not everybody does, not everybody has
yeah.
the opportunity to do. um, but it was an amazing experience. I'd say to anybody, even if you don't publish it, write it, because it's great to go through that experience.
I love that, and it's so interesting because I was never a reader growing up. I never enjoyed reading as a kid. Like I think being told, right, you need to read this one and then tell us what it was about. And I would read pages and pages and none of it would have gone in at all. And it turns out, because I read a book last year, that was the first time I've ever picked up a book and I did not put it down. And it turns out I was just reading the wrong kinds of books. And now I found my kind of book, which is all about empowerment and mindset and wealth and all of this amazing stuff that's really inspiring to me. And I think it's really interesting because I'm now going through the process of writing my first book, literally just like scribbling down all of these notes and everything. And I'm just like going off on these tangents, just getting it all out there. But it's like therapy, isn't it, writing a book?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the thing you get with a book is it's relatively low ticket, isn't it? So it
Yeah,
enables anybody to get access to the value that you want to bring. And for me, the impact that can have is huge, isn't it?
yeah,
They can't, not everybody can work with you one to one. You can't work with everybody one to one.
yeah,
It's a physical impossibility, isn't it? But a book for a relatively low ticket price, it can help so many people. It's affordable for so many people. It can reach so many more people. So I just
yeah.
think the impact of books is phenomenal, and I just think it is a great way to spread your message, further afield, which is why most of us are in business, isn't it? To help
Yeah.
other people.
Absolutely. So tell us a bit more about your book. What is it all about? Obviously, it's talking about your journey. What is your book called? Where can we find it?
It's called The Calibrated Life. It's on Amazon. And it tells you my story, very open, very raw, because one of the things that I learned that I was never did up until the point that I walked away from my previous businesses, I hid too much. I made everything. I wasn't making things falsely look better than they were, but I just only ever spoke about good things. I only ever said I was great. I was happy. Everything was wonderful. So I wanted to sort of be from the very beginning to say, there's good, bad, and ugly in business, isn't there? There's some really tough days. Even if you're a happy person, you're living your best life, there are still really tough days,
Yeah.
tough weeks even sometimes. So I wanted to start it off being really raw and honest. So it takes you through my journey first, and then I take you through like a 5-step system. So it takes you through the 5 things that I did, which is strategy. Basically, it took me through takes you through strategy, including mindset, because I think that's super important. I always say that if you want to grow a business, you've got to grow personally alongside it. So it just takes you through the steps that I followed that enabled me to completely turn my life around. So it talks you through, all the things that some of the stuff, or should I say, we've already spoken about. So getting to know what your vision is for both your business and yourself, the steps that you need to put in place to make it happen. So setting goals, and then the action that you need to take, and then the reviewing and the tweaking, and spotting the triggers. So, we've spoken quite a lot about making sure things are in alignment with
Yeah.
you. The book will help you to understand what your triggers might be for if something isn't out of alignment. Because I think that's key, isn't it? Getting to know what makes us say something's not quite right. I need to do something differently. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's grab yourself a copy.
Amazing. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. And you've also launched a podcast. I feel like everything is happening for you at the moment. You've got all these exciting things. Tell us
Oh,
about your podcast.
this year has been an amazing. I know the book wasn't launched this year, but this year has been such an amazing year for me in terms of my personal growth, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it, and I'm loving it because I've spent probably the last couple of years experimented and doing that piece that says, what do I enjoy? And
Yeah.
as soon as I found what I enjoy doing, I can see the growth, because people feel it, don't they? They can tell you've got the passion behind it and everything else. So yeah, the podcast was launched at the end of May. It's called Dream Business, Dream Life, and it does exactly the same stuff. It helps you with strategies, and I share other people's growth stories, so we can understand where other people have had, struggles and things that they have managed to overcome. But yeah, it's just about showing you that you can have it all if you just know what it is that you want. So yeah, I'm loving that experience. Podcasts are phenomenal, aren't they? They're
They
such a
are the
great
best.
way. Yeah, they're such a. I love hearing voices. I feel like I'm with people more when I can hear the voice rather than
Yeah,
reading the book. So yeah, love
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, definitely go and check out Emma's podcast and also the book. What is next on your sort of vision list? What is next for you as a business owner?
Oh, so much coming for me. I have got something huge launching next year. I'm not getting into detail in that yet, but that is my big thing for next year. My very I don't know if you've ever done this. Have you ever written either a letter to yourself, or you've written like a story that says, that outlines your where you are in so many
Yeah.
years' time? Going back 2 years ago, I did that. I wrote that this is what my business will look like in 5 years. And then it kept getting put away. So, oh, that's big and scary. And that's, oh, no, that's for somebody else, keep popping it in the drawer. That's back out. And that is happening. I'm going to make that happen. It might not happen in the original timescales because I'm already 2 and a bit years behind from when I originally did it. But that journey is going to start to come to light. But for now, I am loving in-person connection. So I am hosting lots of events and things. So pulling people together, bringing people together, and just continuing to run my membership, my mastermind, and all of the other stuff that I do. Everything I do is now shaped around, one, what I've seen works best for my clients, but two, the thing that I love most, because I think that's what gives people the best value.
Absolutely. And there is nothing like those in-person connections, is there? Like the energy that is in the room when you're actually there, meeting people face to face, hugging, like just celebrating together. It is another level. If you've never been to an in-person event, make sure you go and check out Emma's events that are coming up. Um, where can we find you? Where can everybody follow you?
I'm on all the socials as I am Emma Hine, or my website, emmahine.co.uk.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Emma. It's been lovely to have you as a guest. Hope you've all enjoyed this episode. Do reach out to Emma on socials, drop me a message. Let us know what takeaways you have had from this episode. I'd love to hear how this has helped you. If you feel like anything has been really relatable to you, that'd be really helpful to know as well. But do leave a review, and I can't wait for the next episode. Speak to you soon. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. If you're ready to unlock the secrets of building your own personal brand, head over to my website, baileyandrue.com, where you can grab my free Brand Brilliance Blueprint today. It's your roadmap to success in the world of branding. And hey, let's stay connected beyond the podcast. Follow me on Instagram at baileyandrue for daily inspiration, behind the scenes insights, and exclusive content to fuel your brand journey. See you there.